Philadelphia and let me go all the way out to Los Angeles, California, where my good friend, former cruiserweight and heavyweight contender, and now boxing analyst and boxing trainer BJ Flores, I have on the line. BJ, I think we'll see you in a few minutes. Correct?
Yeah, correct. I'm just doing a little driving right now, and as soon as it's safe, I'm going to, get to where I'm going, and we're gonna start chatting face to face, buddy.
Because seeing your face, from what I understand, is ratings. I heard half the reason why you get all these TV gigs. Half is because of your knowledge, and half is because people just want to see you.
That's completely false. 100% false.
So anyway, we're here. We're going to be talking some boxing for the next 20, 25 minutes or so. Before we get into that, what have you been up to?
Mark, actually, I'm in Las Vegas right now.
Oh, you're in Las
I've
Vegas
been here
now.
I've been here for the last 5 weeks. We got a fight coming up November 28th, Jake Paul and Nate Robinson on the Tyson Jones card. So, very exciting. Jake's been training for about almost, 2 years now. I've been with him for about a year. And making a lot of progress. So he's doing well. We're having a very professional camp. We have 2-a-days where he's kind of left his entire life in California, and he's out here in Las Vegas. And I want everyone to just kind of have their own opinions, but watch the fight November 28th and see what you think. I think people will be very surprised with the kind of work that he's putting in, and the quality of sparring he's been getting out here in Vegas has just been phenomenal. And I told him a long time ago, if you want to be the best at something, you got to go somewhere where all the best, kind of dwell and live, and that's exactly what he's done in Vegas. He's doing fantastic.
That's great to hear. I know you've sent me some pictures and a couple of videos, and I know there's a lot of backlash on the internet and stuff like that. We'll get into that more in a minute. We want to talk about some other topics, but
yep.
The stuff that you sent me, I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between him and a boxer who's been training for years.
Yeah.
So we'll get in that in a little bit. Let's we've got 5 or 6 topics we have written down. This Saturday night in Las Vegas, probably the biggest fight since the pandemic. It definitely here in the United States. The lightweight championship fight of the world. You have Vasily Lomachenko, as he's known these days, taking on Teofimo Lopez in a fight that we've been waiting about pretty much a year for. Now it's finally going to happen. When I discuss that fight, bring up that topic with you, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I just feel like Lomachenko is experienced. I mean, I just feel like the type of guys he's been in with, I feel like more than prepares him for a guy like Teofimo Lopez. He's definitely fought someone like Lopez before. Lopez definitely hasn't fought anyone like Lomachenko before, but the problem is Lopez doesn't know that, and he won't really know that until he gets in there. So I think it's going to be a cold, cruel reality for Lopez when he gets in there and finds that everything that has worked so well against other opponents does not work at all against Lomachenko.
And I mean, obviously the experience, the 480 million amateur fights. Teofimo's had a good amateur career as an Olympian from Honduras and so forth. Pretty much everyone he's hit has fallen. Do you think that
right.
It's so much? This guy may not fall in front of him, and I mean, Plan B, Plan C. Is that the way you're kind of thinking? That there may not be a Plan B, Plan C. Is that your opinion of it?
I think he's coming in with a Plan A because he's undefeated, and he feels like anybody that he fights with his Plan A is going to be enough. But there's levels to this, and I feel like he's going to figure it out very shortly in the fight. That it's a much different, type of fight. We're talking about a guy who won 2 gold medals. We're talking about a guy who fought the best amateurs all over the world. In the Olympic fights, in the World Championship fights, in the duels, the European duels, the Russian duels. This guy's fought the best of the best of the best for the last, 15 years. And, contrary to popular belief, I feel like, Lomachenko's still in his prime. I feel like he hasn't taken any beatings, and I still feel like he's at a very, very high level. And I think people give the punching power of Teofimo Lopez a little too much credit. Obviously, it's an X factor. It's something that can, definitely change the fight. But I feel like Lomachenko's on another level, and I feel like, his fights with Orlando Salido in his second pro fight, his fights with Gary Russell in his third pro fight, his fights with, Nicholas Walters, Jason Sosa, Jorge Linares, Pedroza, Anthony Crolla, all those guys, Luke Campbell, fighting those guys in their hometowns, whatever, it doesn't matter. I just feel like that's going to be way, way, way too much experience for Teofimo Lopez, and it's gonna give Lomachenko a fairly one-sided victory.
So it would shock you then if somehow Teofimo gets in that big right hand. Would that shock you?
Yeah.
So
completely, I would be flabbergasted. I mean, it's fighting. Anything can happen, but I'd be shocked if he was able to land that. You got Teofimo Lopez. He's got some good wins on his resume. He's got Diego Magdaleno, Mason Renard, William Silva, kind of a tough Brazilian kid, and Richard Comrie in his last fight for the IBF World Lightweight title. Obviously looked spectacular in that fight. But these are all different styles from what Lomachenko presents, and I feel like Lomachenko just he's in front of you 1 second and then he's not, and he's making you pay a split second later, and it's just for a puncher like Teofimo Lopez not being able to land that power, eventually he's going to start pulling back because he doesn't want to keep missing, and I feel like it's going to play right into Lomachenko's hand.
How do you? I mean, now let's put you're a trainer now, so let's put your trainer hat on. How do you prepare for a guy like Vasyl Lomachenko?
Man, that's a good question. To be honest with you, at that weight, I feel like you just got to put tons and tons and tons of pressure on him. And when you're pressuring him, you have to be completely dismissive of his head. Don't even worry about his head. Don't even think about making contact with his head, nothing. You just have to make contact with his shoulders, his arms, and his body. Like if I had Teofimo, I would really focus on just making contact with anything, the chest, the shoulders, the body, and really using the jab. Don't be timid to use the jab just because you're looking for the power shots. I think the power shots are set up much more easily off of the left jab and off the body shots, changing levels to be able to land that shot. So Teofimo, if he attacks the body, he starts with hard with a good jab, taunts, feints off the jab, and he attacks the body hard early, he's got a shot. If he doesn't, if he goes head hunting from the beginning, he has no shot.
And so much going after the body, as much as you're saying, just to maybe even let him know he's there. But the body punches to slow Lomachenko down. I mean, he's known for his unbelievable footwork. There's working the body early. Slow Lomachenko down in the middle to late rounds.
100%. That's plan B of working the body. But plan A is just giving Teofimo Lopez confidence that he can make contact anywhere, because he's going to find it very hard to hit his head. So, I mean, just finding the body, you hit the body, you can hit the head. You don't hit the body, you can't hit the head. And you definitely can't hit the head if you can't hit anything. So I feel like that'll give Teofimo some confidence early, touching the body, the arms, the shoulders. And obviously, one of Lomachenko's very best assets are his legs and his upper body movement. He's a tough guy to hit. So problem solved. Attack the body, use the jab, slow him down, time his jabs with your own jabs, and attack the body, slow him down for the later rounds, and give yourself a shot in the second half of the fight.
Well, and also one other thing, obviously the one time that we actually saw Lomachenko kind of in a little distress when he got knocked down by Linares with a straight overhand right. What's the best punch by Teofimo Lopez? The straight overhand right. So is that a little bit of a blueprint, or do you think that was just a fluke?
I mean, it wasn't a fluke. Linares is a world champion and a multiple-time world champion, a very good fighter. But I think, something that we're kind of dismissing is the timing and the poise and the experience of Linares. I mean, you got to take all those things into consideration. He's an excellent puncher, but he also has excellent timing, excellent experience. He's got the demeanor and the poise to really be able to land those kind of shots. And I just feel like Teofimo is a long ways from what Linares was whenever he fought him, as far as experience-wise. Power-wise, I think he's got more power than Linares. But those other intangibles that you take into the ring, those X factors like experience, smartness, ring IQ, I think Linares is a much higher level.
Well, we're going to be doing these chats, more often than not. So this is going to be our first, soda bet. I'm going to go with the upset on Saturday night. So.
Okay.
This will be our first bet that we have, so it's on record now. So, there's no escape.
I've been on a bit of a cold streak lately. I was ice cold on NFL Sunday and College Saturday, so you might be catching me at the right time, or you might be catching me coming out of a massive slump that I had. But as far as the boxing stuff goes, I'm normally pretty accurate at the boxing, but like I said, it's a fight. So my last pick was, Alexander Povetkin. over Dillian White.
You did.
I called that pretty.
You did say that. You did say that. I did see the tweets and the messages. So that was your last big boxing pick. So you would see if you can keep that streak alive. Obviously it's a good thing it came out today that the whole card is going to be excuse me, televised live on ESPN. So that's be a good night for the sport. Good night for boxing. If you're a real boxing junkie, you start at 7:30 p.m. and you're there till 1 o'clock p.m. Get eight good fights. One thing on the main undercard is a kid out in New York named Edgar Berlanga, who's fighting Linnell Bellows, who you probably know a little bit out in all the time you spent out in Vegas. Bellows, who I believe is he still with the Mayweather team? I don't know if he is or isn't. But Berlanga, 14-0, 14 first-round knockouts. Break him down, and what are your thoughts of his fight with Bellows?
I know Berlanga's a big puncher. I always kind of hold my judgment when anybody's got that many first-round knockouts because it's either one of two things. They haven't fought anybody or, maybe they have fought a couple people, but they don't have the experience in the second, third, fourth round. That doesn't mean they can't necessarily fight. I mean, a lot of people said that about Roy Jones. Wait till he gets past 2, 3, 4 rounds. He knocks everybody out so early. But the guy could actually fight. So I got to hold my judgment on that. But it's just tough to say and tough to really to know for sure how this Berlanga kid really is until he goes, in the third, fourth, fifth round. Championship fights really start after round 3, at round 4. So tough to say. But Linnell Bellows, he's an experienced guy, but I don't think he's got the type of experience to be able to hang in there with a guy like Berlanga. He's been doing some sparring with J. Leon Love out here in Las Vegas and a couple other guys, and he's been trying to prepare, but I don't know. I feel like, Linnell Bellows is, I just feel like, with the stage in the sport of boxing, sometimes you get, a little lackadaisical, and I feel like that's kind of what Linnell Bellows has done for the last couple of years. He had a couple losses. He got a little distracted, and now he's kind of taking fights against young up-and-comers to see if he can, turn the clock back and, get back in there. But I don't know if even in his best days if he would have been, competitive with Berlanga. So I think it's going to be a rough night for Linnell Bellows as long as it lasts.
There we go. Also, let's take a step back about a month or so. We saw the first ever split pay-per-view Showtime put on that featured Jermell and Jermall. Jermell, who the 154-pound is now a 3-belt champion, took care of Jason Rosario pretty handily, and Jermall Charlo got won again, another handled win over Sergey Derevyanchenko. And for my money, you know what? I think those two kids have the goods. I mean, a lot's been said about some of the other PBC fighters. Maybe Earl Spence, maybe the best one out of it. Wilder was, for a long time, he was kind of like the bell cow, so to speak, of the PBC. But you can't sleep on what Jermell and Jermall Charlo have both done.
Man, give those kids their credit. I've always been a fan of the Charlo brothers, and I feel like, Jason Rosario was giving, Jermell, he was giving him a tough fight for as long as it lasted. It was a very tough fight. But, I just feel like both Charlo brothers were impressive. I was more impressed with Jermall Charlo because, in my mind, Jermell was always the better boxer. And I just felt like what Jermall was able to do against Sergey Derevyanchenko, a guy who went life and death with Daniel Jacobs and a guy who went life and death with Gennady Golovkin. I thought, Jermall Charlo beat him better than both those other guys who I hold in very high regard. So Jermall showed an aspect of his boxing ability that I've never seen before. He was able to use his timing, use his left jab. He controlled the action very well. And, I mean, let's not forget, this kid has extremely heavy hands. Every time he hit Derevyanchenko, 2 or 3, 4 times in the fight, he wobbled him. And Derevyanchenko, has got a very good chin. So I give a lot of respect to Jermall Charlo. He looked fantastic. And, I was very impressed with his victory.
Actually, I see a couple questions have come in a little off topic. Will Dillian White will he get KO'd again in the rematch?
I think he's fighting Povetkin too fast after the knockout. I feel like he needs, after a knockout like he suffered, unless he gets Povetkin, early with a quick punch or whatever, if they start trading, and I'll tell you how I know this. I know this firsthand. You can't get knocked out and hurt by a shot and then come back 30 days later and start sparring again and your chin and your punch resistance is the same. It just doesn't work that way. Your
Yeah.
head needs time to heal. You need time to rest, to relax. Otherwise, your punch recovery lessens and lessens and lessens. I don't know if you remember a guy named Nate Jones, a 96 Olympian, very good fighter, but he could take punches in the gym. He could take them anywhere. He could take them in fights. And one time he got hurt in the gym, and then the next time he started getting hurt a little easier and easier, and then all of a sudden, you know, he couldn't take a punch. And I've seen it a lot of times. Guys don't rest and recover fast, or guys don't rest properly, and their punch resistance lowers. And I feel like Dillian Whyte, I mean, he took a massive left uppercut from Alexander Povetkin, and I feel like his punch resistance is going to be suspect at best. So, you know, I think the next Povetkin shot that lands could be another early night for you know, for Dillian Whyte.
There you go. And let's stay on the heavyweight theme, as we just found out earlier this week that it doesn't look like Wilder Fury 3 is going to happen anytime soon. Tyson Fury still wants to fight, and it looks like he's going to fight in the United Kingdom probably in early December. You know, what are your thoughts on that? That Wilder, for whatever reason, they missed a deadline, and I mean, does it seem to you that Deontay maybe didn't want the third fight?
I mean, I don't think he did, but at the same time, I mean, can you blame him? I mean, he had a terrible time with Tyson Fury last time. I think he needs a comeback fight. I think he needs to come back and give himself a little time. He's not ready to, you know, jump back in there with a guy like Tyson Fury yet. And I think it's bad advice on his management to put him right back in the rematch. So, you know, you gotta give the guy a little time. And I feel like the managers probably know best, and it's the best move to give him more time to prepare. And on the flip side of that, Tyson Fury's ready to go. He's ready to fight. He's ready to get back in there, and he's got a lot of you know, different guys who want to challenge him. And you know, the people want to see Tyson Fury fight, and whoever he fights next is going to set up the fight with Anthony Joshua. And I feel like that's the biggest fight in boxing.
Absolutely. And I know we kicked around some names when we talked earlier before. I guess the German fighter Caballel is one of the guys. I've seen maybe Effie Ajagba. I think you threw out a name to me that maybe you. I mean, you're in Vegas, so you hear all the rumors out there. So you kicked around the name Lucas Brown, possibly. You know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that, to be honest with you, but I heard it was a potential possibility. It doesn't make any sense, that fight, for me. I think Lucas Brown is a very strong, very tough guy that has no business fighting guys like Tyson Fury and Dillian Whytes of the world. But you know, tough guy. But the other names you mentioned would be much better qualified for Tyson.
Well, I don't expect it to be anyone of you know, huge huge note, because they want to just get him through to the Joshua fight. So I mean that's why I expect. But I expect him, you know. So that's you know, what I believe will happen, and possibly on December 5th. And we're gonna get into December 5th in a minute. There's another. We're gonna just keep on the heavyweight theme for a minute. Another fight at the end of the month. Derek Chisora taking on Oleksandr Usyk. When we're talking about, you know, what kind of topics. You know, this fight really wasn't on my mind for, you know, maybe to talk about this week, but for some reason it kind of interested you a little bit more than others for right now. I think you believe that Chisora is going to give Usyk some problems, maybe, no?
I do. I just feel like at this stage of Chisora's career, where he's at, some of the things that have given him troubles his entire career, I don't know if Usyk is going to be able to, you know, keep him off him, to be honest. And the guys that I know and trust over there that are watching him, you know, training, watching him fight, watching him prepare, they feel like he's a live dog in this fight. So, I mean, I think Chisora is going to be a good fight for Usyk. On top of that, I just feel like, you know, Usyk may be gaining 15, 20 pounds, trying to do a couple of those things to really be a heavyweight. You know, sometimes those things backfire. And, you know, that might play right into Chisora's hands. I mean, Chisora is a very qualified, very tough guy, and a guy who, you know, also knows how to do a lot of damage when he's in the ring, especially against the smaller cruiserweight. So we're going to see what happens, but I know there's a lot of buzz for that fight over in the UK. My friend David Hayes very excited about it as well, and you know, it's going to be a good fight.
And if I'm not mistaken, your friend David Hay actually manages Derek Chisora, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
He does. Yeah, he manages him, and David also had a 40th birthday today. So happy birthday, champ!
Wow, 40 years old. We've been around this. We've been around this business a long time. That now he's 40 years old. We were also we're talking about Tyson Fury. He may go on December 5th. December 5th is turning out to be quite the day in boxing. Obviously, we got Ryan Garcia against Luke Campbell.
Too.
What's that?
Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell, all those fights.
And then also, the rumor is that could go during the day. And then at night, we got the Spence Garcia fight. So to talk about it, I just got a question from our friend Marshall Kaufman, who he asked who's he like, Spence or Garcia?
Man, I just feel like, Marshall's much more of a Philly guy probably than I am. I mean, I think Danny Garcia is an extremely tough, credible opponent. And I feel like, there's a lot of questions out about Errol Spence right now. I mean, if you saw the pictures that were recently released, of Errol Spence after his car wreck, I mean, the guy was a mess. I mean, teeth knocked out, broken bones in his face, cuts, lacerations, near-death experience. And I feel like Danny Garcia provides an extremely difficult test and, a very, very tough fight for Errol Spence's first fight back. I mean, Danny Garcia is all this talk of, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence and who is better, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Terrence Crawford doesn't have anybody on his resume that even comes close to Danny Garcia. So, Danny Garcia fighting Errol in his first fight back, I just feel like that's a statement right there in itself. And, you look at the other guys that Errol Spence has fought, Mikey Garcia, Kell Brook, guys like that, Lamont Peterson, Sean Porter, all those guys are just, head and shoulders better than anybody that Terrence Crawford's fought. So as far as the pound-for-pound discussion at 147 pounds, I feel like it kind of stops there because Errol Spence fought the much better guys, and Danny Garcia is just another piece of evidence that, Errol Spence is looking to fight the best guys out there.
Yeah, definitely. And let's hope that after he, should he beat Garcia and should Terrence Crawford take care of Kell Brook, which is what's expected, I mean, that's the fight we all want to see. So, that's what obviously that is the next big fight. So we can have our fight with Fury and Joshua. It looks like it's closer to happening than not happening. And then the next biggest fight in the sport is probably Spence and Crawford. So I hopefully in years gone by, BJ, and you've been around this business a long time, for some reason those fights never used to happen. But I think we may get both of them.
That'd be fantastic, bro. Well, I'm all for either one of those fights, and I feel like Spence after Garcia needs maybe one more fight, before he fights Crawford. But Crawford going against Kell Brook. I mean, Marc, you tell me, what do you think about that? Has Kell Brook been active at 147?
No,
has Kell Brook been on the map anywhere?
He hasn't been, and I mean, I don't know what names are available. I mean, who would you like to see Terrence Crawford fight? I mean, I just don't know what names are available. Obviously with all the politics that are going on, the fights with Sean Porter or some of the other PBC fighters probably aren't going to happen. And then I just don't know what else is out there. I mean, you tell me. I mean, off the top.
I don't know, man.
I mean, we're boxing guys, and we can't think of some of those welterweights off the top of the head that kind of like waters our mouth that we want to see fight Terrence Crawford. Then at least Kell Brook brings a little bit of a name. Obviously, the knockout losses to Golovkin and then the Spence loss and so forth and so on kind of diminishes who who he is at this point. So
I tell you who I don't want to see Terrence Crawford fight anymore are guys like, I don't know how you even say it, Kuvalovskis, the guy he fought last, Amir Khan after he was inactive, Jose Benavidez after he got shot in the leg, even though Jose Benavidez gave Terrence Crawford a very competitive fight on my scorecard. I thought it was tough. I don't want to see him fight guys like that. I want to see him fight, live, active welterweights right now who are actually, relevant in the welterweight division. And this gets old hearing the same excuse, oh, we can't get those guys with top rank. Okay, fine, then quit saying you're the best 147-pounder in the world. There's a lot of guys out there who would love to fight him. You got guys like, why did he turn down Sean Porter? Why did he turn down, guys like, the Garcias and even now Ugas, now that he's a champion? Even Mikey Garcia would be the biggest name on his resume, I feel like. So there's a lot of guys available for him that I feel like, would be much better fights than guys like who he fought last and Kell Brook, who's done nothing at 147 pounds lately.
A question from Scott Graverson. He actually asked me a couple questions. Is how far do I think Rentaro Kumaro will go? I think that guy's only 2-0. That guy, so I don't even know. Is Usyk big enough to compete in this area of heavyweights?
he's such a good boxer. You can't say he's not, but there's going to be a point in the fight where he gets touched the arms and the body. And, I think Chisora's in a good place right now. You got to look back at his fight with Dillian White. He was ahead on the scorecards when he got knocked out in the 11th, and that can happen to anybody. But, Usyk does not have the power to knock out Chisora. I guarantee you that. He will not knock him out. So it's a dangerous fight for Usyk because he's going to be the much smaller man, even though he's the highly skilled man and the better skilled man. It's going to be a difficult night for him because keeping Chisora off you for all those rounds is a very, very difficult thing to do, as David Haye found out firsthand. But David Haye had power that Usyk does not have. So, keeping a guy like Chisora off you is very, very difficult for 12 rounds.
Well, there we have it. Thank you, BJ, for a few minutes. I know you got to get to training. And I guess let's end on that. We started with that when I said we got to it. So you got Jake Paul going on November 28th against Nate Robinson. Let me ask you a question. How do you prepare for Nate Robinson? Do you watch old highlights of the dunk contest or what?
No, I think Nate's a great athlete, and I think he's a really, he's a fantastic basketball player. But, with all respect to Nate, I just feel like, at 36 years of age, it's impossible to learn how to box. And he'll see in the very first round, if he makes it out of the first round, that, this is not basketball. And how do I prepare for Nate Robinson? I bring Jake to Las Vegas. I put him in with, Eli Elefiobi, who's 20-1. I put him in with Hasim Rahman Jr., who's 9-0. I put him in with Carlos Monroe, who's 16-0. I put him in with Robin Safar, who's 10-0. I put him in with J. Leon Love, who's 24-3. That's how I prepare for a guy like that. Jake's boxing IQ is very, very high right now. People are going to be shocked when they see him fight. He's sparred over 60 times since last January, and every time he's gone 4 to 6 rounds with different pros who, sometimes get the better of him, sometimes they don't. But we're at the point now where he's doing very, very well in boxing at a very high level. So, I went back to the drawing board with him, and I wanted to make sure he got to see a million different styles. So I really don't care how Nate Robinson fights. He can come forward, he can back up, he can try to box, try to bang. It's not going to matter. He will not go 2 rounds.
We're getting some late questions really quick. Got a question from Ray Rosa. What are your thoughts of the state of boxing in the United States?
Man, I wish there were fans allowed to go to the fights. That's what my thoughts are. But we just got to do what we got to do to keep everybody safe. In the meantime, I feel like it's, a little more exaggerated by the media than what's actually going on nowadays and what it is. But I'm all for keeping everybody safe. At the same time, people want to watch boxing and people want to see live events. They're going crazy.
There you go. So there you go, BJ. I think that this worked out pretty well. I think we're going to try to maybe do this almost every week. You up for it or what?
Yeah, sounds good.
In between all the things you got going on with the training, with the analyst stuff, and BJ, I've known you a long time, and I believe that this is going to be a good opportunity for you to get your words out about the great sport of boxing.
Let's go, baby. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch, Mark.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, buddy.